Good morning. Welcome to Cervello Live. This is episode 6 of this, but I can't remember what series we're on because we tend to do this every year. But it's episode 6 of 2023. I'm joined today by Jan. Jan, how are you?
I am good. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Now, help me now because I don't want to mispronounce your name, but like most Brits, I barely speak English. So let me make sure that I'm getting this super accurate. Is it Jan or do you pronounce it in a different way?
It's Jan.
Yeah, perfect. All right. I'll make sure that I don't mispronounce it moving forward. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I'm really excited to talk all things technology today and help you share what you're up to, which all sounds very exciting. But before we do that, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about financial planning and how potentially we use technology in financial planning. And Russ, you can give me a shout to make sure that the presentation's up, because typically I normally work from multiple screens, but I'm working from home today. So I've only got one screen in front of me, my laptop. So Russ, can you just jump on and confirm that you can see
Sorry, yeah, it's up, mate.
Fab, perfect. Okay. So as I said, we're going to be talking to Jan a little bit about AI technology and the impact it's going to have on our lives in the future. But what I want to do first is talk about technology and using it to enhance your financial plan. Because the reality is we live in a world now where we know that we use technology every day, but often we don't really appreciate the amazing tools out there that we can use to help us live better lives. And what I want to talk about today is firstly the technology you should think about when thinking about your own financial well-being, setting plans in place for your financial future and making sure you do that well. Then I'm going to talk about how advisors, professionals who help you achieve your financial goals use technology to support you. And then what I want to do is think about some of the things that you might want to think about when using technology, particularly when it comes to your financial well-being. So let's talk about the technology you should consider first. Firstly, the core part of any financial plan starts really simply. It's how much you've got coming in, how much you've got going out, how much you're saving for your longer term financial future. And getting control of those fundamentals is the starting point to any financial plan. The piece of technology I like personally to do that is a piece of technology called You Need a Budget. And it comes with a philosophy of how to use it, but the technology that underpins it is a really good way of making sure that you're keeping track of the fundamentals. It doesn't matter how much money you've got coming in and how much money you've got going out. The important thing is making sure there's enough of a gap to make provision for your financial future, but keeping track of those fundamentals is really important. It's often assumed, bizarrely, that the more income that you've got, the wealthier you're going to be. But in my experience, income doesn't mean wealth. It's really important to remember that. If you're getting £1 million a year, but you're spending £1 million a year and not building towards your financial future, actually you're as poor as somebody who's getting 20 grand a year, 20,000 a year, and spending 20,000 a year. It's what you keep, and You Need a Budget allows you to do that in a really efficient way, low cost, that allows you to keep the technology. So you need a budget. Now, if you're looking to self-invest, I mean, you don't need to work with an advisor to invest your money. There are, and I'm primarily talking about UK platforms because most of the people who watch this are based in the UK. There are plenty of UK platforms where you can log in, save money, open a pension, open an ISA, open these wrappers that are really super tax efficient, and do it directly. Certainly, if you're closer to thinking about what's next in your life and potentially finishing your career, most of the clients that come and see me are in their mid-50s and have already accumulated a decent amount of wealth, then the planning element of that might be a bit more complicated. But if you're just starting and you're thinking about what I need to do for my financial future, all of these platforms are available, easily accessible, and allow you to save and plan really well. So take a look at those. Financial education, the beauty of the internet is we can all get better educated on our money. And in the UK, there's two that I refer to the most when somebody needs some help thinking about sort of their financial future and thinking about what they need to learn and understand to get better. The Money Advice Service is run by the government. That's a free service available to all. Particularly good if you're thinking about what's next, but you're not ready to come and talk to somebody like me and incur the costs of working with an advisor. But certainly loads and loads of really great information there. And then Meaningful Money is run by a guy that I've known for many years. He's done amazing work in the area of financial education. A guy called Pete Matthew, who runs a chartered financial planner like me, runs a practice down in Cornwall, but he is absolutely the godfather of financial education in the UK. He does amazing work. Clearly, Martin Lewis does brilliant work as well. And certainly when my daughter Charlotte was thinking about going to university and we were planning for that, Martin Lewis's video on student finance and how that works effectively was the information, the education that I really appreciate to do that. So Martin Lewis in the UK is clearly the most prominent educator in the UK. But take a look at the Money Advice Service and Pete Matthew, because they are both at Meaningful Money, because they are both amazing. And then online banking. We live in sort of a world now where you can be far more efficient with your online banking. This isn't a recommendation, but personally, I really like Starling. A couple of reasons why I really like Starling. So I originally opened my Starling bank account when I went traveling last year. And the reason that I really like it is because effectively you can use it internationally without incurring a lot of the normal bank fees that come through using a traditional high street bank. So Starling are amazing at doing that. They have designed a UK-based bank account that's really modern. But the other thing that I really like is the app, because what it allows me to do is set up loads of different savings pots, name those savings pots, and save in a really efficient way. So if I've got long-term target, I invest. Short to medium-term targets, I save. So what I'm able to do is actually be in a situation where I call a bank account, for example, holiday fund, and use that money to save in there. So that's really good. They've got really good fixed rate bonds available at the minute. Look, do your own research, do your own due diligence. But if you're looking for a bank account or a bank that allows you to use technology really slickly, it works and it's good and it's secure, I don't think you're going to go particularly wrong by looking at Starling. And then, for the business owner clients, business owner individuals out there, I couldn't run my business without using Xero. Now, Xero, what Xero gives me, it gives me really good quality management information to run my business, allows me to track profit, track turnover, and actually have a front foot when I'm thinking about running my business and achieving my goals from a business perspective moving forward. The amount of times we see business owners who just haven't got good data about how their business is going, or they've got a backwards look because their accountant's done their previous year accounts and they're not looking forward. Technology can really make that easy, and Xero certainly is the way to go on that. Listen, accountancy is moving towards, is already at the digital world. It's moving towards that. By law, there's a rule in the UK called Making Tax Digital, and your accountant should have had a conversation with you about that already. But certainly, looking at the advantages of using technology, using Xero, using the technological platforms, not only just to track the numbers, but also to future forecast the numbers. That's certainly worth doing. And Xero's the one that we use. There are other options available that are really good. Now, in our practice, when we're working with clients, we certainly advocate the use of technology and make sure that we're using it in a really efficient way. First thing we do is we use a software tool called cash flow. So we've talked about cash flow in your business. We've talked about the fact that it's really important to make sure you know where you are in your business. I'd suggest that the idea, if you're in business, is to build the wealth so that you can live the life you want. Our philosophy is money is a tool to live the life you want. And actually, how do we make sure that you're achieving the level of wealth so that you never need to worry about money again? Now, that's not particularly about stopping work. I'm 46 as of last month. I love what I do. I get immense satisfaction out of it. And even though I'm fairly close to being financially independent, I'm in a position where I don't think I'm going to give up work. However, knowing that you're on track to be financially independent provides one thing, and that's choice. Choice gives you the opportunity to then decide how you want to spend a really finite commodity, which is time. So having the tools for us as professionals to help our clients work out how close they are to financial independence then provides them with the freedom of choice to make really important decisions in their lives. And that's the important thing to do. This that you're seeing on the screen right now is an example of somebody who's not on track based on the action they're taking at the moment to achieve financial independence. That's what we're aiming for when we're thinking about achieving financial independence, helping somebody get to a point where they'll never run out again. Now, the other thing we always do, because I suppose one of the big things for me when we're thinking about the service we deliver is not only the individuals who we help, but also their families. And what we want to do is make sure that if something happens to our clients, and we've got clients in their 70s and 80s and beyond, if something happens to our clients, their family knows where to come to get access to all the important information. And that might be wills, that might be power of attorneys, that might be all the financial records. So I'd suggest that if you're working with an advisor, one thing they should be doing is storing securely, safely and digitally all of your important documents. So for our clients, we encourage them to give us a copy of their will so we can store that digitally, along with all their financial information, so that if something happens to them, and with the right permissions, we can help and support the families of our clients do the right thing. So cash flow's one, digital storage is next. And effectively, what we want to be doing is communicating with our clients their way. So I've got clients who like to send me on WhatsApp. I've got clients who send me an email. I've got clients who pick up the phone. I've got clients who come into the office for a face-to-face meeting. increasingly I've got clients who actually are completely relaxed about not seeing me throughout the year, but want to review their circumstances via Zoom or Teams or something else. Your financial advisor, financial planner should be using technology to communicate in your way. And if they're not, I question why. And then the other thing that we should always think about when we're helping our clients, I believe, is making the information clients need really easily accessible for them. Now, we use something called the Personal Finance Portal. Effectively, it gives all of our clients a view on their financial situation. Every client gets a login. They get a view on the financial situation anytime they want. So that's really important. And then I suppose one other important thing, technology is really important in our profession, because we want to be using technology, number one, to make our business as efficient as possible, but to deliver to our clients the way we want it. But we're also firm believers that money isn't just about efficiency. It's about trust. It's about emotion. It's about making sure that we're having really human conversations about the point of money in our clients' lives. So technology is really important, but having that human you can phone up, make sure is around, and make sure you're having calls with is important as well. So technology is important, but we pair that with the human touch. That's why you can always pick up the phone to any one of our team and they'll be around to help you. A few concepts when you're thinking about your financial plan that are worth considering. Now, we're talking technology today, and I love technology. I've loved technology since I was a kid in the early 80s. It's evolved significantly, but don't come under the miscomprehension that money and your relationship with money is all about technology. It is about emotion. It is about using money as a tool to live the life you want, and connecting those two things is really important. So when you're thinking about technology, don't let it cloud the fact that effectively all money is a tool to live the life you want. The other thing you want to think about is actually when you're thinking about your longer term financial plan. I firmly believe in the Warren Buffett philosophy: buy, hold, diversify. A really boring investment philosophy, but the one that's shown to have worked over the longer term. Now, that's not to say that you're going to not have speculative investments, but when you're thinking about your financial plan, think about the right mix between the really safe, stable, longer term investments and how much you can afford to speculate with. And certainly those two elements are really important. And be careful where you get information. You know, we live in a world where information is certainly prevalent. It's everywhere, but you need to make sure that you're sense checking that, you're getting the information that's right, and you're in a position where you're making decisions based on the data. Based on information that's factually correct. I think that sometimes part of the challenge we face is Russ, can you turn me back on? Thank you. Part of the challenge we face is with in an environment where there's so much information. What do you trust? And if you're in doubt, make sure you get professional, if you're in the UK, professional regulated advice, and they'll certainly point you in the right direction. So that's how technology plays a part in my world and how I help my clients. I am fascinated, John, in terms of helping understand how the future of technology looks in your opinion. So before we start exploring that, tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you so much, Chris. I run an AI-based startup in Germany on a mission to simplify information management. So when you think about especially the world of investing, you've got a gazillion documents that you could sift through and search for clues on how to invest. Like, did Apple miss their earnings? Did Tesla miss their earnings? Like, what is happening on the regulatory side of things? There's so much information you need to structure. The platform I'm building right now with my co-founder goes into the organization, goes into public sector, and tries to make that information more usable. And I think this is a good starting point for our conversation today as well, because when I think about financial planning and investing, I want to be able to go through a lot of information really fast, knowing that I'm not missing anything important. Like for me as a startup founder right now, obviously I'm speaking to investors, I'm speaking to potential partners. I've got my pitch deck, I've got this, that, and the other thing. But when I flip the script and put myself in the shoes of a potential investor, they are looking for the stories that I'm not telling in the pitch deck, right? They're looking for the hidden things underneath the bed that I'm trying to hide away from them, but they need that information. So when it comes to financial investing, using AI to get to that level and to get to that information faster, I think is a really good and really easy starting point for that matter.
So help me understand how that would work then. So effectively, you'd be in that particular scenario, somebody wanted to invest, they could use the AI to effectively be a supporter to do due diligence, right?
Right. So there's one example website that makes this pretty clear. It's called secinsights.ai. I've just put this in the private chat for us as well. So if you want to bring it up on the screen, or I can probably do that as well. Give me one sec. Essentially, what you want to do is you have the public information, right? You've got all those reports that companies have to publish every now and then. You've got the shareholder reports and stuff. So what we are looking at here is a website that uses AI to summarize and analyze the Form 10Ks that various companies have published. And now in this example, I've got Tesla with the Form 10K from 2020 to 2022. And I can chat with these documents right now. So what I can do is I can ask it, what are the most important changes from 2020 to 2022 that impact the company? Let me see, company value of Tesla. And now the AI will do its magic, and it's going to take a bit of time because it's like 3 documents with hundreds of pages each, like 126 pages just for 2020. But this is a very easy use case. This is a public website. Anybody could use this.
How would that work for a private company? I mean, clearly, if you're in the UK, there's private company information available on Companies House.
Right.
But in that startup phase, so if you've got an individual who's looking to invest in the startup, the public information is limited, right? So how does that work in that example?
For this to work, you need to have a decent amount of public information. That's right. So this is if you want to buy a stock or if you want to buy a bond or something, you've got the information and you just want to compare it instead of reading through all these documents yourself. You can use AI to get through this quickly. What you could do on a private side of things, if you want to invest in a startup and you've got like the financial projections, you've got a pitch deck, you've got maybe a customer list and things like that. So by the way, these are the results that are coming in now. Revenue has significantly increased from X million to Y million, increase in net income, increase in total assets. So this took like maybe a minute. But imagine reading 126 pages in a minute.
Well, I mean, this is really interesting because, funny enough, I'm writing my book, third book at the minute, and it's more about well-being than money. Funny enough, it's about making sure that we're getting the balance right in terms of. So I'm doing. funny enough, yesterday I was researching into social well-being and loneliness, and there's loads of good research out there on the importance of community connections, and we use AI to summarize that research.
Right.
These tools are brilliant
Exactly.
in terms
Yeah.
of getting to the pertinent points. Now, clearly, they don't, and again, we might be using the wrong tools. What they don't do really well is put in my voice and personalize it and tell that story. But that's what I'm there for. But to get to that pertinent information really quickly, AI is
Yeah.
amazingly useful, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it will only improve from here. It will only
Yeah.
get better. Like the tool that we are using right now is making this internal company information accessible internally, because of course that's why it's internal. But what I expect to see is there's more and more tools that come up with AI-based investment advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't rate how good or bad this is. Like that's your decision individually, not mine, if you want to
Well,
trust AI. But
I mean, certainly using tools to deliver better outcomes for clients can never be bad,
right,
can it?
right.
But you need to make sure that the tools you're using are making the right due diligence decisions to do that. But that'd be on me to do that due diligence on behalf of our clients.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit, because I know you mentioned the public sector.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the work you're doing in the public sector and how AI adds value in that world.
It's a very similar story. The public sector in Germany essentially consists of forms. I would imagine it's a similar story across the globe.
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not unlike the UK.
Right. And I have a partner right now, or hopefully soon to be partner. They are doing public sector work in the foreign ministry, trying to get skilled foreigners into Germany to compensate for the lack of labor that we have,
Yeah.
lack of employees. And the process that they are working on right now is, let's say a developer from the Ukraine wants to go to Germany to work. They send over the forms, wait around 5 weeks on average to just receive feedback if they filled out the forms correctly. Then they
Yeah.
receive the feedback. Probably they have to resubmit. There's another 5 weeks. And then the process of actually getting the visa just starts. Because at 10 weeks into the process, the German administrative officer says, yep, we've got everything we know. Now we can start working on your request.
Yeah.
And we tried to make this easier by giving the people working in the public sector more direct access to the information that they need. Think about jurisdictions, think about laws, think about regulation in certain sectors. One area that is interesting is personal leasing, where you have all these different contracts. For the meat industry, there's a different contract than for the paper industry. Companies can only have X amount of people from personal leasing vendors, and they have to be like 70% employees and stuff like that. Those are the things that we try to simplify with our
It's using
business.
technology to improve the efficiencies.
Yes, exactly.
Involved in that sort of
Exactly.
process,
Yeah.
which should hopefully have a knock-on impact to the economy, right? Because then people can come in
Fingers
quicker
crossed.
and things can, that's really good. If you're and I know we get quite a lot of business owners who watch Cervello live. If you're a business owner, SME business, doing well, things have gone really well over the last few years, but you're really conscious that AI could potentially be a game changer for your business, but you just don't know where to start. Where would you recommend that people sort of look at in terms of using it for their business?
Brilliant question. I would say start looking at the processes you already have that you know don't work well. Pick a single problem. Let's say your employees might as well be looking for information for, like, I think McKinsey said it's 9.3 hours per week employees spend searching.
Yeah.
That's 9 hours gone.
Yeah.
Just chatting with your coworker. Hey, where did you save this file? I can't find it.
Yeah.
Think about those problems that you have in your business, and either you set aside the time to do the research and start speaking with potential solution providers, or you give somebody in your team the time and the budget to tackle this problem. That's the biggest challenge I see, is not that business owners don't want to embrace AI. They're just too strapped into the business. They don't have the time for it, and they don't give somebody else the budget and the time to actually dive into the process.
Sure. And as you say, it's about improving those efficiencies that a system can just do better, right? So
that's a start. Yeah.
Talk to me about a practical example. How have you done some work for a business where they've come to you, or you're aware of the case, and they've said, like, I know this isn't working, and the journey towards making that process more efficient in their business?
Practical example, a friend of mine runs a personal leasing agency in the medicine space here locally in town.
Yeah.
And they have trouble filling the slots. They have trouble finding people that they can lease out to their clients. So what we did is we set up a process that partially automates writing those job descriptions and creating these social recruiting campaigns using ChatGPT. No rocket science there, but you develop some prompts, as you said earlier, that speak in the tone and voice of that specific business. You can engineer that and tell ChatGPT, speak like me. If you give it some example content of this is what this is supposed to sound like when you create content. And then if you have this prompt structure set up, it's just rinse and repeat. You could put a chimpanzee in front of the keyboard. If they can just have copy and paste on the keyboard and anything else is gone, they will be able to execute the process. So you multiply the efficiency of the staff you already have, compensating for lack of staff, essentially.
Yeah, so it's scaling on steroids, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
The technology to
is.
enable you to do that. Talk to me a little bit about, because I'm always fascinated what inspires people to put stuff on their own marketing material. So when we had a look at your website, you've got Usain Bolt on there and Glenn Mills. What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, in marketing, you have to paint pictures that most people understand, right? And if we just drop Usain Bolt right here, everybody knows that's a guy that can run pretty fast.
Yeah.
So what most people see is they have Usain Bolt running around a track in their mind right now. And then the story on the website goes, okay, Usain Bolt didn't do it by himself. He had a coach.
Of course.
Right. And then it clicks immediately. Then the connection is made. Well, I had people give me advice too. So maybe there's something to it, to what they say. And it's the inspiration from that is, first of all, I'm not as fast as Usain Bolt by any stretch of the imagination, but I like running. I like endurance exercise.
Yeah, I'm never going to be as fast as you.
No, same here.
But I am persistent. That's my superpower, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't like. So, but you know what's interesting? So I'm reading a really good book at the minute called A Journey Through the Jungle, right?
Mm-hmm.
By a guy called Dr. Steve Peters. Now, Steve Peters was the psychologist they had on the GB cycling team in 2012 and the Sky cycling team. And it's interesting how much of the athlete's performance is just based on their own mind. You know, it's just and actually the way that some of our audience may have read his previous book. He originally wrote a book called The Chimp Paradox, and it's so. What I'm finding is that it's so insightful in terms of thinking about decisions you make, how you make decisions. Yeah, really, really amazing stuff. And I think you're right. I think we all need coaches and mentors in our lives to maybe point out the obvious, maybe help us understand certain concepts, but just keep us accountable and keep us on track. So, who
Yeah.
does that for you, and how has it helped?
Oh, so many people. The biggest lesson I've learned having coaches for myself is that I think any coach has a time where they are useful, and they have a time where you'd be better off switching to someone on the next step of the
Yeah,
ladder on the
yeah,
journey that you're in. Not meaning to be disrespectful. I love anybody who gave me advice in the past. But depending on where I'm at in
depends
life,
on
where
what
I'm
track
at
you're
in
on, right?
business, right? Exactly. I divide my life, or I'm not consciously, but I see my life and business as going through phases. Like,
Yeah,
good first phase was preparation for when my first daughter was born. I hired a coach who I knew had 3 children and was a successful business owner, and had him walk me through a routine I hope would work to let me balance business while also being present for my family and supporting
yeah,
my wife as good as I could.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
my second child is underway, and I'm not hiring him again because I feel like 3 years into being a dad,
You've
I have
got
a
the balance.
somewhat good grasp of what's happening there.
Yeah,
Do I
yeah,
need a coach for raising money for a startup? Of course. I'm speaking to tons of people right now. I don't have
yeah,
a single person that I say, you are my startup coach, but I'm speaking to a select few, maybe 5 people in total, sharing the process and the journey that I'm on and asking for feedback
yeah,
and trying to learn from them. And every one of them is on a different path in this journey. There's Mike Planner from the BIP 100 community, who's extremely useful, fantastic guy. There's also a startup founder in London who's essentially building the same thing that I'm working on, but in a different sector with a different positioning. So we can learn from each other on a tech level. With
sure.
Mike, I can learn on a strategic level. And then there
Yeah,
are a couple of people who can open doors potentially that I'm speaking with. But there's almost any coaching relationship I do is very mindful, very selected, and I try not to second guess too much when somebody tells me do this and I don't see an obvious red flag why that would be a bad idea. I just try to execute and be coachable.
yeah. I mean, that's important, isn't it? But you're right in terms of sort of where you are in the journey. But you make a really important point there about balance, right? So
Yeah.
I think what we and I've certainly been guilty of this throughout my business career. Certainly when Cervello started, because I wanted to make it work so much, I probably neglected getting the balance right between family and work, um, and made mistakes in that area. Um, that looking back, a coach would have helped with. Now, now we're pretty established. We've been around, and profits growing, and we're doing a good job. Actually, it's probably easier to get the balance, but you never get the time back.
No,
And
you
it's
don't.
it's interesting the lessons, and thankfully, I've got a pretty good relationship with my girls and stuff like that. But really, really important stuff. So talk to me a little bit. If there's a business watching this that thinks, you know what, we really should be utilizing AI. I haven't got the expertise in my business to give this task to somebody. How can you help and support them on that journey?
Usually there are associations that can give you advice and guide you on this journey. I think it's really important, coming back to this balance point you just made, is that you don't just spend 20 hours a week researching AI now, neglecting the business. On the other hand, you have to set aside some time or get expertise from somewhere to actually implement AI, because it's not a question of if AI is coming. The question is when AI will impact
Yeah,
your business, because your competition likely already implements AI. And if you don't, they run circles around you within at least or at maximum a year from now. I'm
Yeah.
very convinced
Yeah.
about that. And seeing that the public sector in Germany is open to adopting AI should be the biggest warning sign for every business owner who is not adopting AI yet, because they are notoriously slow and behind the curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm waiting for the HMRC. I'm waiting for the tax office in the UK to adopt AI, because we might get some better answers then. I don't know. Okay, so talk to me about the tools that people should be looking at then. What tools do you think are the ones, if you're starting that journey of AI research, the ones you should be looking at?
The most obvious one is ChatGPT Plus, because it is a brainstorming tool, it's a reasoning engine. It only has data up until 2021, but if you are reasoning for or against a certain hypothesis or argument, it doesn't really matter. It is really, really good at playing devil's advocate. Like you tell it, act to me as a negotiation partner. I'm looking at investing in this, that, or the other thing.
Why
Here's the
shouldn't I? Yeah.
exactly. Here's the
Yeah.
information I have. Why is this a bad idea?
Yeah.
Boom. And then you go into a conversation. And then, as I said earlier, go through the processes that you have in your business. And if you see that, for example, the marketing team is stretched thin, explore tools like Canva AI and how ChatGPT and Canva together can create LinkedIn Reels on steroids, or develop a prompt in ChatGPT that lets you create social content calendars with ease. Identify these use cases and see what tools already exist. There are many, many tools right now that are focusing on marketing and copywriting and image creation and stuff, but there's also tools for financial modeling. There's tools for even creating 3D printable designs with AI. There's a lot happening in the engineering space right now. There's a lot happening in the architecture space, where Eileen from Preoptima, who's also in BIP, uses AI in the background to track the CO2 that's bound in a building right from the planning process up until the finished construction. And you can see, as an architect or as a property developer, how every decision you make in the construction process impacts the CO2 footprint of your building. So it's really depending on the use case that you have. But what I would say is, think in small steps. You can always add later on. I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a German property developer who said, I would like to calculate an estimate for a new project based on where it's going to be built and the functional description of the building with a single click. Of course, you could do that. Right now, it takes them 6 weeks because they have to literally sketch the drawing or sketch the building plan and assign materials to the walls and to the ceilings and stuff like that, and really do deep work for 6 weeks to give somebody even a number before even winning the project. And now they wanted to have that number calculated with AI. And it's possible. It would be a huge advantage for them. But it's also a 7-figure investment.
I'd imagine the starting point for that, if you're looking at that as a project, is breaking it down into its constituent parts and then solving each constituent part, right?
Exactly. So you take the data from the location where the building is in. So you would have to have the geographical data. How's the texture of the terrain? Are there any rivers alongside that we have to take into account and stuff like that? You have to have all the material information. You have to have all the construction worker rates. You have to have the delivery times of the material. You have to have past project experience. So many different components.
Variables.
Yeah, and it's possible, of course, but it's expensive.
I'd be tempted, if I was looking at that, to look at the low-hanging fruit and seeing what I could solve with technology immediately, include that in the process, and then just build out, right?
Exactly.
It's like sort of, it's an interesting one, that one.
Same thing, go ahead, sorry.
And when we think about how we use AI at Cervello, the low-hanging fruit for us was content and marketing. That's easily done. And now we're looking at using it And it's a real interesting one for us because we're a really deeply human business, right? We believe in relationships, we believe in people. People come to us to experience a relationship of trust. But we also want to make sure we get stuff right. So our new implementation of AI is on every client call. We now use it as a virtual PA. So
Right. Makes sense.
effectively, we use Fireflies. There's
Yep.
other platforms available. Takes all of the notes for the meeting. I take notes just to sort of make sure that I'm engaged, but it makes sure that we never ever miss an important point.
Yeah.
And then the technology summarizes every meeting, make sure that when I'm sending the document back to the client, I've got everything that I need. And it's a really good way of not only making sure that the client is comfortable with where we are, and it's that like in my head, the way I sit in our business is, and I don't know whether this is prevalent. I'd be interested in your thoughts, but the way I see it in our business is an opportunity to empower people more. That opportunity to actually make the process more human because you're spending less time doing the stuff that technology can do. What do you think of that?
100%. And
Yeah.
here's one thing that you could add on top of this first step that you've taken to increase productivity in the meetings. Take the transcripts that Fireflies creates, just your part of the transcripts, and give them to ChatGPT to say, write like this. So ChatGPT writes like you are speaking in the conversations.
And I don't know if I want that,
because you're too close to it.
It's really interesting. The insight that it provided that I thought was really insightful was how often I spoke, how often the client spoke. Because in that first meeting, actually, I don't want to be speaking that much. I want to be curious.
You want to be listening.
Yeah. And having that insight was, if I've got a meeting where I think, 50% or more I've spent speaking, that's the wrong proportion. It should be actually more like 60-70% client.
Yep.
And I'm conscious that I'm speaking too much now. So let me ask you another question. What does the future of work look like? So, I mean, how old are your kids? Because your kids are younger than mine.
Yeah, my daughter is 3, and I've got another one arriving in November.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
So question one, I was going to ask you a serious question, but let me ask you a bit more of a flippant one first. How's sleep?
Right now, it's pretty good. I'm averaging around 5.5 hours a night. So that's good. She's sleeping through the night most of the times.
Perfect. And what do you see as the future of work? My two are 19 and 11, and again, there'll be fundamental change over the next few years. But for your kids who are going to be coming into work like in 18, 20 years' time, whenever it is, what does the world of work look like for them with the impact of technology?
I have no idea, to be honest. I honestly don't. What I'm trying to do, what I'm preparing them for, is a world where intrinsic motivation is more important than anything else. Because what I'm seeing coming is that kids leave school and AI can do everything they could potentially do by an order of magnitude more effectively and better. And then what's the meaning of their lives? Like, you and I get a sense that we do something valuable for other people. Otherwise, we wouldn't do our businesses.
Yeah, true.
That's part of my identity, is building this AI platform. That's how I see myself, as somebody who makes stuff, essentially. If there's nothing for me to make, holy smokes, I would be pretty miserable. If I felt useless, not contributing to anything, I would be probably porn addicted, alcohol addicted, and I would not have my wife nor my daughter.
It's a really interesting quandary because a lot of the clients that we speak to who are slightly older than us, so in their mid-50s, and are never going to run out of money again. They're financially pretty independent. Go through a bit of an existential crisis because you look at the reality of having purpose and values whilst you've been building your business, purpose and values throughout your working life if you've been employed at quite a senior level, and then suddenly you know that you need to make change. But the scary bit is that identity bit, isn't it? What does your life mean if you're in a position where what you've been getting up every day and giving you the reason to get up then changes, and that would be a fascinating. But I think you're right. I think looking at those intrinsic values and saying what positive impact that do I want to make on the world is going to be a bigger question moving forward. So really interesting.
100%. And what I'm also teaching my daughter right now is that AI, or the tablet for that matter, that she can watch photos on every now and then, is not something that's there for play, but it's actually for work, and she's in control over what she does with the tablet, not the other way around. So what I'm doing is I'm creating kids stories with ChatGPT and Midjourney. So we do daddy-daughter time, spin up some dream about a story. I write it with ChatGPT, I illustrate it with Midjourney, put it into Canva so that it's a beautiful PDF in the end, and we can read through it on a tablet together and look at the pictures and stuff. And I try to explain to her, obviously 3 is quite too young to have her use ChatGPT herself. She can't even read or write for the matter. But when she's old enough to read and when she's old enough to write, you bet that the first thing she's learning from me is how to use AI.
Yeah, 100%. Funny enough, I did that with Sophie, my 11-year-old, a few weeks ago, and it was quite
nice,
quite an entertaining thing to do. And thank you so much for your time today on Cervello Live. I really learned a lot, enjoyed the experience, and we'll be revisiting how AI works in our business. So thank you for your insight, and thank you for watching, everybody who's joined. We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. Feel free to let us know what you thought, and certainly I suppose the last thing I want to cover off, Jan, is where can people find you?
Best place is LinkedIn for me right now. We're just in the process of building a new website, but that's German only, so limited use here for the UK audience. But LinkedIn is multilingual on my end, so search me on LinkedIn and you'll find me pretty fast. Perfect. I think.
Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on Cervello Live next week. Thank you.